Okay, guys, sorry, apologies. Obviously, I just had a few impromptu phone calls. Yeah, so I think what's very, very important is this. I think this is how I suggest people should do it. You need to set up the setups, the ones which you choose. You need to define rules and try to take the emotion, to try to take out the ambiguity of the rules. So take out the gut feeling and just say, okay, for example, with extended reversal, I will wait for a reversal pattern to appear. I don't necessarily need to see a crossover, and I will enter minimum 10 points away from the reversal entry where there are two band shades. For example, my first target will be the 1 minute box, and I'm not going to give you the exact, obviously this different. What I'm going to say, you need to, and it is very, very important that you define the setups yourself, because obviously you can help us. For example, Chris has very kindly given us an orange to white. I think Mohammed Isam is also going to put down his extended reversal setups as well. So we can help you with that, not an issue at all. But ideally it should be coming from you. Once you've defined your setups, you have defined them, and then you go into testing phase. Now what you do in that is you take a sample size of 20 trades, and I recommend at least, again we talk about this, again it's trading in the zone as well, so I'm obviously using a little bit of reference, but that has helped me a lot. You take a sample size of 20 trades. So 20 trades you take a sample size of, and using your rules of entry, you take the trade. So you can do that on demo, or if you want to, you can do it a very, very small, or even a mini or a micro account. So maybe a mini. Less than that, you will not get this right sample size. If you do on 4 or 5, you may not get enough. You may have 4 losers, for example. So you will not get a correct answer. I think 20 is reasonable, because 20 will give you enough size to make a reasonable, clear judgment on it. Because remember, your losers will also be random. Again, we talk about this. You can have a 70% strike rate on a trade. So that means you will have 7 winners out of 10, and you could have, out of 20 trades, you could have 6 consecutive losers, and then the next 14 trades will be winners. So that will still give you 70% strike rate if you think about it. But you start off with 6 consecutive losers, which just, it can happen, because anything can happen. Because we do not know what's going to happen next in the market, it is very, very possible for you to have 6 consecutive losers out of 20 trades and still end up with a 70% strike rate. So if you imagine, if you did a sample size of 5 trades, you could be that all 5 are losers, but then if you continue doing it, you would have made plus 15 on the rest of them, and you would have been showing a 75% strike rate. So this is why I think sample size at least 20, the more the merrier, but at least 20 is reasonable, because that will give you a reasonable idea. Once you achieve that sample size and you have 20 trades, strike rate, that is your edge. That 70 to 80% strike rate is your edge. And this is the edge. And you've done your testing, you've done it mathematically and scientifically. So that is your edge. So, and this is important, because you see, the only thing that we have is an edge. That is the only thing we have. We have nothing beyond that. We just have an edge. We have nothing else going in our favor. I mean, I'll be honest with you, it's hard work being a retail trader. I struggled immensely for a long, long time. I struggled for a long, long time with trading. I'm the first to admit it. Even sometimes I have bad days, and we have these days. But edges. I've got my setups. I believe in them strongly. This is my edge. I know that if I take an extended reversal, I'll be right 90 times out of 100. And this is all I have in my favor. I've got nothing else in my favor. I've got nothing else in my favor at all apart from that edge. I do not know if my next trade is going to be a winner. I have no way of knowing that. It is impossible for me to know that. But what I do know is if I take 100 extended reversals, I'll have 90 winners. And it is therefore imperative that this is what I trade. So every single time I see an extended reversal, if I'm in front of a computer screen, I take the trade. A trade is a trade is a trade. I try to say to you is within reason, obviously you take every single trade you see. If you're in front of a computer screen, you take a trade. I was on mic, for example, about think about a week ago, I was on mic and I saw an extended reversal on mic. And I took the trade, but I was very honest. I said, I don't think this is going to work. It just doesn't feel right. It was long on the euro dollar actually. It was an extended reversal on the euro dollar. I took the trade, but because the moment I start second guessing my setups, this is where I'm going to fail, because then the emotions will come into it. I took the setup knowing it's going to fail, but knowing that if I don't take a setup, then I'm breaking my rules. It is very, very important you understand that. So sometimes you may take a setup, you may think it's not going to work, but you don't know that. I don't know that. I mean, I have a gut. The moment you start bringing too much of a gut feeling into your trades, it becomes unscientific. If it becomes unscientific, this is how I suggest these things are done. I suggest this is you do it. You take away the setups which you like, you set them up, and I always say to people, I suggest I'm more than happy to have a look at them. Most of the moderators here are more than happy to have a look at them as well. If you want to email them to us, by all means do that. But obviously, I'm not going to ring you. I'm not going to say to you every day, have you done your setup? Have you done? If you're serious about it, more than happy to look at your rules. Chris has sent me his rules. I'm happy to look at it with him. Mohammed's going to send me rules as well. That is that. But if people want to send me rules, I'll have a look at them. If people don't want to send me rules, it's not a problem. I mean, I'm not here to hold your hand, unfortunately. We're all grown ups over here. Well, most of us are anyway. So what I'm going to say to you is set up your rules, test them with a demo or even long. You see that you're getting a consistent strike rate of, let's say, 75, 80%, whatever you're getting, then that setup is then laminated, or what you can say now. I mean, if for example, you do testing and you find you're getting a strike rate of 50%, then you say, okay, well, you know what, forget about it, maybe I'll do this. So your testing will then allow you to do that. When you get your 70, 80% strike rate, you say, okay, now I'm happy with this. You laminate it, do whatever you want to with it, put it away in a file, in a folder, and then you run with it. And then every single time you take the trade, you take it, and then you take the emotion out of it. I think the simple fact, if you firmly believe something, if you firmly believe that you have an edge, because you've done your testing, if you firmly believe that how much you can afford to lose on that trade, and this will be part, and how much you can afford to win on that trade, and you can do that properly and sincerely, then the emotion of trading will come out, because you will take it as a robot, as a series of trades. You will not be scared when you pull in the trigger, because often what happens is you get scared. You see a trade, you think about it, you find reason not to take it, and then by the time you take, and then when you do take it, you find reason to get out early, because you are viewing the trade in isolation. So you take the trade, you think about it too much, and then when you get in, you maybe get a rubbish entry. Then when you get in and you've got rubbish entry, you say, okay, shall I get out? Why does that happen? It's because you are actually focusing on that one individual trade. You're not thinking about it as a series of trades. That's a huge difference from that point of view. If you think about it as a series of trades, you say, okay, this is a trade, take it, move. I think this is the way to do it. I think this is sincerely the way to, in my humble opinion, I mean, more than happy for people, more than happy for people to obviously have further comments. It's all interactive exercise. Any other moderators who are around as well. But this, I think, is imperative. I think this, if you follow this pattern, it may take a little bit of time. I'm not saying it'll be something. You could do this in a week if you're honest and you're really quick about it and you're proper about it. You do this, identify your edge, and then trade your edge. And I think if you do that, you can become successful in this. You could even do that with something not even related to us. I mean, you could find that you have another system and that works for you. I have no issues at all with that. Anywhere you can get your edge, you can take the trade. So, does that make, anybody got any comments or any queries on that? I mean, I want to make it about 15-20 minutes or so. This is how I personally think you should try to achieve what I consider to be decent results. And I think if you do that with the right system, you make money if you do that properly. If you do your job properly and you do it correctly, then it will work. If you don't, if you take shortcuts, if you don't do it and then you will fail, and so be it, basically. Yeah, become a trading robot. You will only have no emotion if you do not focus on your next trade. If you accept that you do not know what's going to happen to your next trade, you will not be scared about it because you don't know. It's simple that you trading in the zone. When you toss a coin, do you really expect to win? Do you really expect to be right all the time? You don't, do you? If you toss a coin head and tails, you expect to be right half the time, don't you? So you're not particularly fast. If you call heads and you get tails, you're not going to throw yourself off a building, are you? Because you don't expect to be right. Because there's 50% chance of getting heads or tails. Or you roll a dice, you have a 1 in 6 chance of getting a 4. So you don't throw yourself off a building when you get a 5. Because your expectations are much, much less. So the same thing should happen because you do not expect to know what's happening next. But same thing about what you're doing in trading, except that we have a better strike rate than 50%, much better than that actually. However, it is still only a chance, and anything can happen in the market. I think people just really I think the people who fail will just spend too much time focusing on the next and focus more on a series of trades. If you start trading as that with a series of trades, you can make decent money. Okay, guys. I hope that's of some use. Any final comments? Any queries? Obviously, as I always say, if people want me to look at their setups, I'm more than happy to do it for every single person in this room. It's not a problem at all. It may take me a little bit of time. I mean, for example, anybody who's good at orange to white, they may want to send it to Chris or maybe Paul. I love my extended reversals, so I'm more than happy to look at those. Franco likes his trendy idea. We all have different favorite trades. So I'm more than happy to look at anybody, but I'm not going to hassle you, say to you, where are your setups? Where are your setups? That's not my job to do that. I can't spoon feed everybody. But I can tell you how it can be done. I think if you follow this 4 to 5 step process, finding your edge and then executing your setup, it's 4 to 5 steps. If you do that correctly and sequentially, I do not find any reason why you cannot make money. Because I think the emotion will come out of the trading. Okay, that's me going to wrap things up. It's now 12:40. I need to get on and do a few things. Obviously, Paul will be on to do the New York session as it's a Friday. I will be back after